what are the things that would not have happened if we did not have this special sauce? And I'm just going to give you one example, but I'm sure each of you has lived many examples. In the last 7 years, we recruited 7 outstanding scientists. As a team, we recruited these scientists from other institutions. And when we began the BJC investigator search, the idea was we would bring some more great scientists to be part of our community. This was a team effort, and we all engaged in it. At the very top of the organization, the department heads, our professors. We had a search committee of 45 people, and we're actually going to continue on this in the next several years. How do we know that we're optimally leveraging the virtuous cycle of academic medicine? What are the things that, and there are many, and you all can describe many of them. I'm just going to talk about 2 things that have struck me in the last few months. And I describe them as research initiatives that can profoundly improve clinical practice and health outcomes. Because in the end, that's what we believe research does for us. From the very most basic to the very most applied, in our minds, this is an expression of how we improve our society. Here's an example that just came out in December, led by Ali Javaheri and from the Division of Cardiology in the Department of Medicine, and Carmen Burgum from the Department of Radiation Oncology, in which they make the case in mouse models and from human data that radiation therapy can be used to improve cardiac contractility and potentially treat heart failure. This has to go through clinical trials. This is a massive collaboration. You see all the people from different departments at this medical school. This has a chance to change clinical outcomes. And it's all about the secret sauce of WashU. And then this came across, I've seen it lots of times, but it came across to me in a way when it was presented recently by Bettina Drake and Lannis Hall, who have worked under the leadership of Graham Kolditz, Nice Gain Professor and Chief of the Division of Public Health Sciences. And in this group, and I give enormous credit to Graham and Tim Eberlein for long ago investing resources in implementing programs for prevention of cancer. And here's some data from what that has meant for breast cancer in the city of St. Louis. And here's some data for what that has meant for the incidence of colorectal cancer in the state of Missouri. On the left, you could see the 31 counties that, based on 95% confidence intervals, had high risk for high incidence of colorectal cancer. Their prevention strategies over the last 4 years have reduced that from 31 counties to 4 of the original counties. Now 7 have cropped up in the meanwhile, and they will go to work now on those counties with their efforts. This is amazing outcome. But with all of that, with all of those really positive things happening here, we are not satisfied. We want to have an even better climate, an even better culture. We want to be an ever more attractive place for all of our faculty and trainees. And I'm really grateful to Renee and Ben and Dineo for leading the charge on our EF Task Force for Climate and Culture. As you know, they've concluded with a set of recommendations, and then we are going to implement to getting into even more detail with the next version of this task force to improve on what we do here. So this is really, this that I'm just showing you is exemplary of what is the biggest story. The biggest story is this is a place where we are relentless about improving. We all have this common restiveness. We We don't want to rest. We want to keep doing important things. And that, to me, is what is so spectacular about this place. What are the other big stories this year? We have 2 new department heads. Pam Woodard took over as head of Department of Radiology, and Ting Wang as our head of Department of Genetics, 2 really great products of our community. We have new leadership in innovation and commercialization. Ron Dahl took over the permanent director of the Center for Drug Discovery, and Shri Bhagwat took over our new Needleman Program for Innovation of Commercialization. Amy Bantle came on in medical marketing and communications. Steve Menerick took on the permanent position as Associate Dean for our DBAS, and Will Arvin has become the permanent Vice Chancellor for Medical Advancement, and all of these people are already doing great work here. This year we named a new Danforth Scholar, Julie Schwartz from the Department of Radiation Oncology. This is a program where the school committed $40 million for recruitment and retention of outstanding physician scientists in the clinical departments to be a complementary program to the BJC investigator that is dedicated to the preclinical departments. And then we are building for the future. And I didn't time this so well. We did the Neuroscience Research Building opening last week. We're looking at the Ambulatory Cancer Center opening later this year. The vertical expansion of the BJCIH will also be completed at the end of this year, and then in 2025, the Queenie Tower replacement. I'll just point out to many of you who don't realize this, between the Neuroscience Research Building and the BJCIH vertical expansion, we are increasing research space on the campus by 40%. We're going from 1 million square feet of lab space to 1.4 million. There's very few places in this world that have made that kind of investment, that kind of very serious investment in research. And in addition, the other building projects here are giving us the much needed clinical expansion that we need to continue to do the things we're doing. And when we talk about this Neuroscience Research Building, we're talking about something that's really a big time commitment to research. And for many of you who were there last week, for those who weren't, I'm just going to show you the video.
We will never fully understand ourselves until we understand how our minds work and how our brains work, because those are questions that are at the core of who we are.
And so the neurosciences is the scientific approach to this question of what makes us human.
And hopefully, by understanding the brain, we can really develop better treatments for diseases of the brain.
In the current era, science has become very complex, and the individual human being solving a complex problem alone is not the common model today. Today, it is teams of investigators working collaboratively that is much more likely to yield big breakthroughs and to drive things forward.
So I've been at Washington University for almost 25 years, and what has kept me here is the unique culture of collaboration. And that's why I'm so excited about the new Neuroscience Research Building.
Well, the new building is extremely exciting from a number of perspectives. We're moving in with members of the WashU neuroscience community across different departments. The real power is having people with different perspectives working on a similar topic. That is where you get real scientific power.
One major collaborative effort we have is in the area of steroids that occur in the brain. WashU is the top institution in the country at neurosteroid work. these researchers are going to be able to work together in the same place, figuring out how these discoveries are going to turn into new treatments.
One really exciting finding we've had is that we can take cells from people who have Alzheimer's disease and we can make them into the cells we find in the brain. And we can then use those cells to see that certain drugs that are already in the clinics for treating depression and other psychiatric illnesses may be able to correct those cells and make them look healthy again.
One big area that is in real need for discovery and new therapies and ultimately cures are brain cancer. So we've put together a brain tumor center. It's a partnership across multiple departments, and that's a combination of taking care of that patient population now, but also looking in the lab to find new therapies that we can then translate to the clinic.
If you ask us what are we planning to do, Washington University School of Medicine wants to change the world. We want to change the world in fundamental ways that alter our understanding, create fresh insights, and enable people to live better and more fulfilling lives.